All right, so today we're going to explore criticism. Now, there's criticism, there's projection, and there's bullying. And I find that a lot of people think that criticism, projection, and bullying are all the same thing when they're not. And this is bad for both parties. It can be bad if you're an employer who's bullying when you think you're giving criticism. It can be bad if you are the recipient of criticism when it is actually somebody else's projection. It's bad all around. And I think that we have given criticism too broad a definition, so I'd like to try to narrow the scope with this video. And regardless of which side you may find yourself to be a victim on, I hope that this is helpful to you. So, at its heart, criticism is about helping someone improve. Criticism is about giving someone feedback so that they can then grow as a result of it. Now, bullying is about shutting people down. I want you to stop what you're saying. I want you to stop what you're doing. Stop what you're planning. Some people bully because others are saying something that hurts them. What you're saying is triggering me. It's making me mad. It's bringing up bad memories, so I want you to stop. Or you could be pointing out my inadequacies. So I'm going to say these things to try to shut you down so that the rest of the world doesn't realize, oh crap, this person's right. I'm underperforming when I shouldn't be underperforming. I don't want you to point out to the rest of the world that I'm doing something wrong, so I'm going to throw names and adjectives at you so that you stop. And the third is going to be projection. Projection is when somebody starts to pick away at the things that you're doing that they're doing. And there is one fundamental principle I feel that makes it very simple to figure out whether something is criticism or projection and bullying. And that is that we tend to criticize people that we care about. I don't mean care as in I'm in love with you. It doesn't have to be a loving relationship. It doesn't have to be a friendly relationship. It can even just be a business relationship. So for example, Jason here is the assistant tech at work, and I have a vested interest in him doing well. If he does well, then my company does well. I will make more money and will also look good. If Jason does a poor job, my company image will look like crap and we will also make less money. So I want to see him do well. It's in my best interest to see him succeed. So criticism would be a form of coaching for those that you care about. If you care about somebody, you want to see them do well, and if you want to see them do well and you're giving them feedback, that can be seen as a form of coaching, I would say. So let's say, I'm trying to bring up an example here. How about this? So Jason's an amazing technician. He sees things that I don't see. He's definitely better at me than soldering, but oh my God, good God, is he fucking messy. So let's say I want him to be less messy. I could walk up to him and say, this is unprofessional. You're unprofessional. Or I could say, okay, I'm a bit of a mess myself. So one of the tactics that I use is that I'm constantly cleaning as I'm going. So for example, if I use an LED driver and I have the spool in front of me and it didn't fix the problem, before I move on to the next problem, I'll go, okay, that didn't solve it. While I'm scrolling to the next page of the schematic, I'll take the LED driver spool and put it back in its drawer. Or if I'm putting flux down and I notice that I get flux all over the knob on the soldering station as I'm putting it down in its spot, I may not clean it right at that point because I don't want to stop my train of thought. But if I'm done soldering something and now I'm at the point of having hit next in the schematic, hit F3 or F4 over and over again, since I'm not soldering, my right hand is free while my left hand is hitting F3 or F4. So while I'm hitting F3 or F4, I'll just have it in the queue in my head. Okay, use paper towel, a little bit of alcohol. So while I'm hitting this in the schematic, I'm also wiping the flux off of that knob with the alcohol and the paper towel. Like these small things. I'll give these small little bits of coaching because I want to see him do well. If he's less of a mess, he'll be more productive. If he's more productive, he'll do better. If he does better, I make more money. And I get closer to buying a house in San Diego and telling New York to go fuck itself, which is a small pipe dream of mine, but it's one that I'd like to see come true by the end of the year or next year. But anyway, topic for another video. So that's me coaching him. When we discuss this, we get to the foundational reason that criticism is shared. It's shared because somebody cares. If I don't care about you, then I have no reason to coach you. Whether I care about you because you doing well will bring me success and money, or whether I care about you because I love you and I'm married to you or whatever, I care. And when people don't care, it's just not criticism. Now, obviously, there are some reasons that we may give criticism when we don't care as much about the individual as we do about the outcome. So let's say that I get a dish served from a waitress and I say, this pasta's a little too salty. I don't have to care about the waitress. I don't have to care about the restaurant to say that it's a little too salty because I care about myself getting a good meal. But when it comes down to fundamentals of character, when people are going on about character, 99% of the time, if they do not care about you, it's not criticism. It's bullying or projection. Let's move on to bullying and projection here. Now, if I wanted to bully him, I could easily say, you're unprofessional, this is terrible, I'm going to fire you, or blah, 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 instead of actually discuss how we could make things different, how things should be, and how we can get there. So let's take an example from one of my crappy old jobs at Modell Sporting Goods. Now, there are people that go to work every day that genuinely care about their job, even if they don't get paid a lot. They just need to feel productive so that, just so that it's not a waste of time for them. And then there are people that will do the bare minimum to not get fired. In fact, they will test the limits. What can I do today and not get fired? Will I get fired if I fuck up this? Will I get fired if I say this to that person? They're almost trying to get fired, but they just tread the line. I remember one day I was tasked with working with somebody who just didn't care. And I went to work, and this was back when I was still admittedly a little naive, and I actually thought I had a chance of getting a raise or a promotion if I did my job and not wearing a minimum wage polyester jersey that said I was making $7 an hour for the rest of my life. When I thought that it mattered, I went to work and I cared. And I was given a task, and this task was supposed to be done with somebody else. So I came to work, and I came up with a plan. I knew the person that I was working with was somebody who just didn't care about doing anything at all. And I came up with a little bit of a list as to how we can get this done and how it would make the most sense so that we could both try and leave early. And I was being very nice and polite about it, and they look at me and they say, come on, man, don't be a douche. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, look, I mean, none of this I don't want to do this, man. Why are you being an asshole? I'm like, that's really not necessary. And he's like, what, you can't take criticism? You don't like when I criticize what you're saying? And I'm never going to forget that because the person actually used the word criticize. And the reason that this is relevant is it's adjectives. One of the ways that you can tell is adjectives. Not just that does this person care about me? Not at all. And how are they giving criticism? Are they giving me a list of how I can be different or better? Are they telling me how I can accomplish something that I'm not currently accomplishing? Are they giving me a step-by-step walkthrough? Or are they just puking adjectives in my face? Because when people say it's criticism, but they're actually bullying, what you're going to find is that they puke adjectives. You are an asshole. You are a douchebag. You are unprofessional. I'm never going to forget growing up in Staten Island. It wasn't exactly the most enlightened area of New York or the world in that matter. And I remember when I was a kid, when I was like 8 or 9 and 10 years old in the 90s and the early 2000s, and I don't even know if it's like this today. For all I know, it probably is. I mean, it was Staten Island, which is such a backwards place in so many ways. I'm so glad I left. One of the things that the kids would do is if they didn't like what you were doing for any reason, you're a fag. That's what they would say. I'm not saying I was okay with the language, but that's just what they would say. You're a fag. You're gay. Blah, blah, blah. And none of the kids wanted to be the fag or called gay by the cool people because that meant you were going to get beat up or that meant that you were going to get laughed at or blah, blah, blah. And people think that this ends when you grow up. It doesn't. People act the same way. It's just that the adjectives change. But it's the same idea. It's not criticism. It's adjectives. You're unprofessional. You're this, that, and the other. Or like if you're arguing in politics or you're having a discussion about politics. Like I remember discussing why I wasn't a fan of one of the laws that they proposed to have college be free for people who made under $120,000 a year. I was explaining how I thought this was silly. I didn't want to vote for this candidate because I think if somebody makes $10,000 a month, I think that they can afford their own $5,000 a year for college rather than using my tax dollars. And rather than come back with a debate or here's why that's a law, here's why you're wrong, here's how this would benefit, they said you don't want to vote for them because you're a misogynist or blah, blah, blah. I want you to be able to recognize bullying because there's no how-to. There's no guide and there's no coaching. It's adjectives. It's just a puking of adjectives. And the reason that the person pukes the adjectives is because they want you to shut up. They want you to stop. What you're saying is triggering them. What you're saying is making them angry. What you're saying is pissing them off and it's hurting them. So they want you to stop. So they're going to say whatever they need to make you feel bad. You don't want to be an asshole, right? You don't want to be unprofessional, right? Or if you're a 10-year-old kid in Staten Island in the 90s, you don't want to be labeled a fag by the cool kids, right? It's total bullshit, but it is what it is. You don't want to be labeled that. So you're going to go, well, I'm not going to say things anymore because if I say things, then you're going to call me bad names, so I'm going to stop what I'm doing. No, that's bullying. That's effective bullying, and it works with a lot of people. And even when you're older, you're being unprofessional. Oh, well, I guess I'm going to stop giving my opinion because people think it's unprofessional. That's what they want. They want you to stop giving your opinion because it triggers them. Or, even worse, they want you to stop giving your opinion because your opinion is actually the truth. What you're saying is going to hurt them. So with the individual that I was working with, he didn't do his job. He came into work and he didn't do jack shit. He smoked weed in the break room, and then he would come upstairs and just walk around in this little haze, barely able to, keep his eyes looking both forward instead of this way while he was working. And he sucked. He should have been fired. And when I said, okay, here's what I think would be a decent even split of this work so that we can leave an hour early, his response was bullying. Not criticism, bullying. Because what I was saying would point out and make obvious the fact that he intended to do jack shit for 8 hours, which actually would have been 7 hours if you follow my plan, but that's another topic. He didn't want me to say these things because if I said these things, then managers and coworkers would realize he was a lazy piece of shit. He needed me to stop. So he puked out the adjectives, the magic words that he thought would make me stop saying what I'm saying because I don't want to be seen as an asshole. I don't want to be seen as a douchebag. I don't want people to go, oh my, Lewis is a douchebag. I don't want to work with him. Oh no, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say those things. Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to do all the work that the boss told me to say myself, and I'm going to let you smoke weed in the break room the whole time. Fuck that. That is bullshit. And that's what happens when you succumb to bullying. Or in this case, this is what happens when you don't succumb to bullying disguised as criticism. And I want you to be able to spot it. It's going to come from people who don't care about you, who are shooting adjectives at you. I want you to think about this. How much do you think that stoned coworker cared about me? How much do you think they really cared about my well-being? How did my being better as a person affect their life? They didn't care. There was no care there, and that's why it's important to understand that caring, that wanting to coach somebody to be better, is the foundation of criticism. He just wanted to go back to the break room and smoke his weed. It had nothing to do with helping me become a better person. Now let's go over projection. This is one of the most fun ones, and this also comes back to the idea that in order to give criticism, that you have to care about someone. Projection is a form of criticism, but it's a different form of criticism than you might imagine. I was going out with this woman 5 years ago, and we went out, and I got to meet some of her friends, and I'm not usually a social person. I don't like doing small talk that I don't give a crap about, and having these really shallow, low-level conversations about, oh, how's the weather? Oh, look at these sports. Oh, did you see that car that drove by? I can't do that. It kills my brain. It's like, it's worse than trying to get electronics out of annoying packaging from Best Buy where you need to stab it 50 times just to, and cut yourself just to get the fucking alarm clock out of the wrapping. It's miserable for me. I don't like it. So I thought that I would try to break out of this and talk to other people. And I'm talking to her friends, and we're having actually very good conversation. It wasn't the typical small talk crap I was used to. We got to talk about management at a certain company. We got to talk about a lot of interesting stuff over about 40 minutes. And one of her friends takes me aside and is like, yeah, you're really chatty to other girls. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I just thought I would be social. No, you're really chatty to other women that you're not dating. She gave me the eye, and then she kept repeating it to try to make it obvious, that as if I was doing something wrong, as if I was purposely not paying attention to my date, the woman that I was seeing at the time, because I was paying attention to other women. She really tried to lay that on me. And then when I just said, oh, And I'm like, yep. And I just had my drink, and then I went back and I kept talking, and she pulls me back, and then she finally spit it out in obvious, clear-cut terms that it seemed like I was doing something wrong. It seems like I'm flirting with other women. You really shouldn't do that, my friend, blah, blah, blah. And this is where Facebook is a really beautiful thing, because long after I stopped dating that woman, it just didn't work out. Scrolling down, and I'm seeing that she got a divorce. She cheated on her husband with some other guy that she was talking to. That was a form of criticism, but she wasn't criticizing me. See, in order to criticize, you have to care about the person you're criticizing. Most people care about themselves. However, people who care about themselves but who are not honest with themselves or in the pursuit of self-knowledge will then criticize what their own flaws as they see them or as they project them onto other people. Sometimes they will be projected onto other people who don't have those flaws, but they can convince themselves that they do. If somebody is speaking who is confident, let's say I'm arrogant, I walk into rooms and I say, I know everything about everything, and I'm such an asshole, blah, blah, blah. I want everybody to believe exactly what I say at all times, and I'm going to interrupt everybody in this room to tell them just how awesome I am. And then I see somebody speaking confidently. I may say, hey, I know you're confident, but you should really stop being so arrogant. Stop being arrogant. I think it's bullshit. I am projecting who I am onto them. Not because I care about this person I never met, that I don't work with, that I'm not friends with, but because I myself am arrogant. Confidence and arrogance are easy to mistake. So I may see a confident person, convince myself that that person's arrogant, and then criticize them because I cannot criticize myself. The same way that that woman that knew that she had it in her to cheat on her husband repeatedly could not criticize herself. She wasn't engaged in that pursuit of self-honesty to realize who she was and then to deal with the reasons that she was like that. So she picked out my night of trying to break out of hating small talk and be social with other people and just see where the conversation goes. She projected her cheating whore-like behavior onto me and then tried to imply that I was acting in that manner. And what happened? A year later, I see that they're divorced. I see a lengthy rant from her. I see a lengthy rant from him. I see that they're, thank God, on Facebook anymore, so I don't have to go through this. So if you see yourself doing stuff or reading through stuff like this, you may find it actually alleviates a lot of headaches to just delete your Facebook account. I found it helpful, but I'm reading through this, and it's very clear from reading both of the rants that there's no dispute that she cheated on him. For what reasons? Again, I didn't read like up to paragraph 6 of each rant, but she cheated. She liked talking to other men, and then she eventually cheated. Is it any surprise that less than a year before that she was projecting that crap onto me? Nope. And in the last 5 years, have I cheated on anybody? Nope. In conclusion, to prevent yourself from being manipulated, you need to understand what criticism is. Criticism is, at its core, it's coaching towards people that we care about so that they can become better, where we give them a step-by-step guide on how they can become better at whatever it is they're failing at. Bullying is when we want somebody to stop doing what they're doing or saying what they're saying, whether because they're exposing us for being frauds or lazy, because they're saying things that are triggering them and they're angering them and or because they're just jealous of your success. They don't like what you're doing. They want you to stop because if you don't succeed, they'll feel better about their own failure. Bullying is easily identified because it's just adjectives, just asshole, douchebag, unprofessional, blah, blah, blah. These adjectives that for the most part are up to interpretation. What makes someone an asshole is different to every person. What is unprofessional is different to every person. What is considered a douchebag is different to every person. It's one of those made-up things that just can be anything. Just random words that are thrown at you. It's something that I notice a lot happening in political discourse. Anytime I would express dissatisfaction with a particular piece of legislation or a particular law or a particular idea over the past year of the presidential election, xenophobe, racist, homophobe, It doesn't matter that I've hired employees that came from Russia that came here because they wanted to escape persecution because they were gay. It doesn't matter that none of the employees I had up until even hiring Jason were born in this country. It didn't matter that half of the people that I had hired were women. Xenophobe, sexist, blah, blah, blah. These terms get used as a form of bullying. I want you to stop what you're saying. I want you to stop what you're doing. I'm going to call you an asshole, a douche, a xenophobe, whatever. I'm going to call you something that you don't want to be, and then I'm not going to provide any actual backup to it. Just puking of adjectives to make you feel bad so that you stop what you're doing. Projection. Projection is going to be done by people that do not care about you, have no vested interest in you, and it's going to be hidden as criticism. They're going to explain to you how you could be doing something better, but you're going to understand it as criticism because when you look at who you are in your life, it is not going to apply to you at all. It will be completely off the mark. What I want you to do in these situations is look at the individual providing the criticism. If you give a speech and you're confident, the person in the room who is calling you arrogant and saying you need to be less arrogant and take my criticism, ironically will be the person who is insulting everyone in the room, interrupting your speech, and saying why they're always right. The person who's going to say, when you're just trying to get to know new people and be friendly, is going to look at you and say, you are being just a little bit too nice to all these women who are not your girlfriend, is going to be the person who fucks another dude, but their husband. You're going to notice this as a pattern, that people are always going to try to shut you down when they themselves are doing the same thing. The same way that somebody is going to walk into the store and say, you're ungrateful to your customers. I've had this happen. Somebody walked in and said, you're ungrateful to your customers. How dare you? They didn't want to pay for data recovery on a clicking drive. We told them to recover data from that clicking drive was $350, and they didn't want to pay, and we didn't give them the data. They were mad. They thought that since we knew that we figured out that that's what it would cost to recover, that we had already done it, and that we weren't going to undo it since they decided they didn't want to pay. We had never done the work because they didn't want to pay for it, so we gave it back to them. They come in the store and like, you're very ungrateful. You're unprofessional. Excuse me? Well, where's my data? I'm like, well, we gave you the quote as a result of the free estimate. Do you want to pay? No. Oh, so you want the data for free. Well, so you're calling me ungrateful, but you want to pay $0 and have us do 8 hours of work. See, when you get to realize criticism, bullying, and projection, or in my last example, a combination of bullying and projection, ungrateful is being said by the person that wants stuff for free, and bullying, I'm going to use these weasel words to make you feel bad so you give me what I want for free, you stop being manipulated. This doesn't stop when you graduate school. It doesn't end. The bullying, the constant bullying that people are just seemingly programmed in our society to inflict onto others, it doesn't end just because you get out of school and you get your diploma. It's going to continue. People are going to do this in their 20s, their 30s, their 50s, their 70s, their 90s. They're going to continue to do it for the rest of their lives. And they're going to tell themselves it's okay because they're giving it the word criticism. They're going to say that it's okay, they're going to continue doing it, and they're just going to use in different words. Rather than push you downstairs, they're going to call you names that you don't want to be. And I want you to be prepared for it. I want you to be able to spot it by knowing what it is. I want you to go through your entire adult life and just look back on all these experiences. How many times did you allow somebody else to manipulate you into doing something that you didn't want to do or that you didn't feel right doing, but you were it's like your hands were moving before your brain could even think because you thought you were being criticized, when in fact you were being manipulated? Does the person saying that you're ungrateful care about you? No. They want something out of you. They want you to not want to feel ungrateful. They want you to not feel that you're an asshole. They want you to not feel that you're a slut. They want you to not want to feel that way so that you will then do exactly what they say. A funny one recently with bullying. I got this 1-star review from somebody. We said their board was unfixable. We said we do not want to work on it anymore because if we do any more work on it, it will break. Have this on a recorded phone call. Do you want to continue? I think we shouldn't. They're like, yes, we should. And then we do and it's unfixable, and we give it back to them. And then they say, it didn't work when they gave it back, and they just said it was okay because they didn't charge me for the thing that I brought in that was broken that they couldn't fix. And they're an ungrateful shit, and you're a bully. And I just look at the language, because the thing is language. The adjectives, language says everything. You cannot take my criticism. You're a bully. I'm going to call you an ungrateful shit in public and make it a public comment on New Year's Eve. I'm going to call you an ungrateful shit. Different customer than the clicking hard drive one. But you're a bully, not me. I'm not a bully for calling you shit in public. You're a bully. Language is so telling and so revealing when looking for projection. You simply look at what you are being criticized for, and then you look at the words that are being used to criticize you. And immediately, without analyzing the person or their character, just by reading the paragraph of what they've said, just by listening to the sentence that they've spoken into your ears, do you realize that the projection is real? That what you are criticizing of, you are literally typing the exact and doing and living the exact same thing that you are criticizing someone for. It's right there, and it's so easy to spot. And when it comes to projection, even worse are the individuals that know that they are too cowardly to ever change themselves, to look at themselves in the mirror and say, who I was yesterday and who I was today could be better. Here's how I can change. They can't do that, so they look for things that they think are similar in you, and they attack it because they will never be able to better themselves. Don't allow these people to get you down, and learn how to identify the difference between criticism, bullying, and projection in your own life so that you will not be manipulated ever again.